Welcome into the show. This is Jono.
And this is Micah, and you're listening to Medium Retro.
Micah Thomas, how are you, sir?
Doing quite well. Mr. Sheets, how has your evening been so far?
It's been lovely. I've been hanging out with you, drinking seltzers.
Playing video games.
I believe this will be the last show we record while I'm doing my detox.
Yes.
Next time, we're going to get a nice 3 bottles of wine. I almost said a bottle, but that's no fun.
It's a bottle apiece.
It's a bottle apiece. And then the third one's just there in case.
Well, the third one's there for us to split after happy hour.
Were you saying 3 bottles apiece?
No, just one bottle
Okay,
apiece.
I was saying that would be bold.
We could do it.
I don't think I could do that. Especially I just detoxed for a long time.
We should have 3-bottle challenge episode.
Oh, Jesus.
No, I'm just kidding.
Single recording?
I don't think I could get through 3 bottles. I might be able to get through a bottle and a half.
I could definitely get through a bottle in an episode, but especially right now, my tolerance is probably very low. It's been low for a while now. Even before the detox, I wasn't really drinking very much, so yeah. We'll see. Yeah, we could do a bottle episode challenge, though. I'll do it.
There have to be shots thrown in there in the middle to make it more interesting, but we'll iron out the details later. It'll be a good one. It will.
Maybe for like an episode we know is going to be long because it's a very meaty game. We'll do
meaty retro.
Meaty unretro. Unretro. What did I just say? I think I'm tired.
Yeah.
Is that that's not what you said, is it?
No, I said meaty I said meaty like EM. Retro.
Yeah. Then I said meaty unretro, which makes no sense at all.
Meaty and unretro.
Yeah.
It's great. Modern beef boy.
Modern beef boy?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, meaty unretro.
Media retro. Hey, everybody. Welcome into Medium Retro or Media Unretro. Yes. However you want to phrase it. We appreciate you. So yeah, this is your weekly dose of retro gaming goodness. We appreciate you listening in. Just want to remind you that we have a Patreon over at mediumretro.com or patreon.com, whichever is preferred. And then leaving us reviews on your favorite podcast app is also much appreciated.
Indeed. And as always, guys, follow us on Twitch and Twitter at Medium Retro and Instagram at Medium Retro Podcast. Leave us comments, like our stuff, post your manifestos to our comment section. We'll read them on the show.
Yes, we'll help you overthrow whatever you are attempting to overthrow.
Whether that be government, your parents, or the mailman.
Yes.
Yeah, whatever you don't like.
We should also mention, we got to start adding this. We now have our episodes on YouTube.
Yeah, that's exciting and weird and fun and awesome and kind of terrifying because now they can follow us on one other place and know exactly what we're doing at all times.
Times. There's no video, we should say. It's just our logo. Maybe eventually we'll get to that point, but for now, it's just the logo with the audio playing.
Eventually, it'll be a GIF of us like blowing you guys kisses, and then we'll do real video.
And we're gonna have like a GIF of us doing all kinds of crazy things,
picking your
just
nose,
on repeat,
mooning you, blowing you kisses, drinking coffee,
hopscotching,
walking a dog.
Yes.
Yeah.
Beating up people.
Beating up elderly people.
And
elderly
children.
Fascists.
Yeah.
Nazis. Old Nazis.
We're going to put our heads on old wartimey videos of Nazis getting their asses kicked.
With the little like, kabam, wow, like the old school
comic
like Batman
books.
shit.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
I think we're onto something here. So yeah, check it out on YouTube if you like that format as well. And like I said, I don't know. Yeah, we just had a whole conversation. I'm doing a detox, so no adult beverage section today. The last time for hopefully a long time because I miss drinking the booze. But we have some seltzers.
Yes. I'm going to tell you about my seltzer of choice for this recording. It is a Topo Chico Twist of Lime. My first time enjoying such a beverage. It is refreshing and quite delightful.
Yeah, it's quite nice, as the British would say. You might have just heard me peel the foil off the top of my San Pellegrino Essenza tangerine and wild strawberry.
Ooh, what a dream.
Yeah, so, we like to have that noise. So here we go. Oh, yeah.
I already opened mine earlier like an idiot, and it was also a cap, so what made the cool noise anyway.
I actually opened it like I'm the idiot. I didn't even think about it. I'm sorry, Micah.
You did open it. God damn it. I didn't even do this to myself. You did this to me. Well, anyway, I just made the noise in my mouth to make up for it, so they got it.
You know, because I screwed up, you might want to punch me out.
Oh, and that intro's what this episode is all about.
Hell yes, we are talking Punch-Out, people.
One of the classics for the NES. A weird game. A beloved game. A cool game.
Maybe one of the hardest games ever made.
Holy shit, it was difficult.
Holy shit, even with rewind in limited saves, it was so hard.
Yes.
I mean, I don't even know. I don't even know how people beat this without cheating.
I think there was a time in video games in which the player was expected to memorize more than they were expected to hone their skills. And this game required both.
Yes.
To a significant amount.
Yeah, so I'm excited to play Punch-Out. Some of my very earliest gaming memories are actually with Punch-Out. So you played Punch-Out. I played Mike Tyson's Punch-Out.
Yes.
Same exact game. There's just a reskin of a character at the end of it. Mike Tyson, obviously, his contract wore out, and so he wasn't in the later versions of the game. Same exact game, though.
Yes.
Very excited to talk about that. But before we get into Punch-Out, we have an opening segment. And in a game that's pretty much all boss battles, if you really think about it.
I was just thinking the same thing.
Yeah, I figured we would do another segment of bosses.
Yes.
Where we each pick a boss that we love from any time, any game, but bosses that are up there as some of our very favorite.
Indeed.
Would you like to go first or second?
I'll go first, because I have a feeling your boss is probably going to be cooler than my boss.
Why is that, Micah? Don't sell yourself short.
I'm not going to sell myself short. This is not even necessarily the most iconic boss from this game or franchise. It's probably mostly forgotten, but for whatever reason, it's a boss that meant a lot to me.
Yeah, well, that's what this segment's about, you know? Your personal choice.
Precisely. I was a really big fan of the game Star Wars Jedi Outcast. It was launched on the PC, I believe, before most of you were born. I'm just making that up. I don't know how old you are. I think it was 2001, something like that. I'd have to look it up, you know. I can't remember. 2002, maybe.
So we have a 19 or under audience? Is that what you're saying?
I hope so. I like young people. You know, I really hope the millennials and the Gen Z can keep getting along, you know. I'm fine if they want to call me out on my bullshit as a millennial, because some millennials need to get off their ass and fix their shit. But that being said, most millennials are pretty okay. I'd like to think that we're open-minded. So we should get along with Gen Z, right?
Well, I mean, everybody should get along with everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But see, it's not necessarily us. You know what I'm saying? Like, we fight with the boomers, but we don't fight with Gen X. Gen X and, you know, Gen Y get along fine. So maybe it's not us. It'd be Gen X and the Gen Z that would fight. Maybe. I don't know.
I don't know, Micah.
We'll see.
I do not know. But I hope there's some... What is the people underneath our generation called?
Generation Z.
Gen Zers. I hope we got some Gen Z listeners.
Yeah. Generation Zombies. But shit, man, most of the Gen Z kids I know are fucking great. Most kids I know these days are way more educated than I was at that age. Know what's going on politically. They're aware of how they feel about social issues. Most of us were just like, you know, trying to watch art films because we thought we were cool at that age, you know, back in the day, millennials.
Micah, we were cool.
I mean, we were cool, right? But we wouldn't be cool now, because now it's all about knowing what's going on in the real world. Not living up with your head in the clouds. Millennials, we got our heads in the clouds.
You think so?
Sometimes.
I don't know. I don't really believe a lot of. I've heard all these conversations and discussions about the different generations and how they all have these same traits. And in a way, some of it I believe, but I also think it's just an easy way for people just to like shit on generations.
No, yeah, totally.
You know, and I don't really buy into it.
Every generation has that tendency to shit on the generation after it.
It's true.
And that is just a product of being a human.
But millennials love to shit on millennials too. And we are millennials.
But I also think that might be the reason why we won't hate the next generation, because we're aware of our flaws for the most part. You know, we're not a perfect generation, but I think a lot of millennials are pretty cool people. I think a lot of us came up on a time where there was a lot of shift in attitude about certain things, and a lot of us had to make a stand about things that maybe our parents didn't like. You know, I know a lot of kids who were disowned for coming out, and that's not something that's probably going to happen I mean, it will happen because there's assholes in every generation, but it won't happen as commonly for the next generation. So
yeah, I would agree with that.
We've had to deal with our own shit, but we've also been existing in a changing time. So we're not perfect, but I think for where we came from, we did a pretty good job. And we got more we could do, but we're doing it. So
we're doing it, man.
We're still young. Ish.
I was just going to say that. All right. Yeah, we're on the same page there.
But anyway, all that long, lovely talk about generations aside, my choice, Gallic from Star Wars Jedi Outcast. To give you a little backstory, he is essentially the rising power in the Empire post-Return of the Jedi. He is being helped by Dasan, who I like to call Dasani. He's the main Sith villain. And he is trying to keep Kyle Katarn from blowing up his ship. It's currently being attacked by Rogue Squadron. Cool game tie-in. Whoop! And while they're attacking the exterior of the ship, you're sort of trying to disable their shields from the inside, which brings you into direct confrontation with Gallic. This is the most un-Star Wars battle ever. Well, arguably there are more un-Star Wars battles in Star Wars games after this point, but he has this weird, like almost like mech-like suit of armor that he wears. It's got a big like shield generator on the back, and you have to like shoot him enough to take down his shields. Then you take down the shield generator. Then it's a long battle of just trying to destroy him. But he's in this giant suit of armor, so it almost looks like a mix between Iron Man and like a mech.
Interesting.
But it's weird. I just, for whatever reason, I always think about it. He was like one of my favorite bosses in the game.
Hey, if he resonated with you and you're still remembering him all these years later, it's a great answer.
He resonated, And some of the dialogue between him and Kyle was really kind of funny,
When you said Kyle Katarn, I got taken back to like episode 4 that we recorded because I never played any of those games. And you obviously have a very big history with all of those 90 Star Wars games, and we had the whole episode on them.
Yeah.
So yeah, Kyle Katarn, you just took me back to an earlier time of the show, Micah.
Bam. You and the listener. Mm-hmm. But yeah, fucking great boss battle. Wasn't terribly difficult. I really liked in that game, you could it was really easy to cheat in the game, you could use cheat codes, but you could also spawn enemies essentially whenever you wanted to. Mm-hmm. So me and my siblings would all just have we'd spawn a bunch of enemies and have we'd spawn a bunch of good guys and we'd just have them battle,
Yeah.
He was one of my favorites to put out there in weird levels of the game. But yeah, fun boss battle, fun times. He had a cool repeating gun that you could pick up if you killed him. I think you got it before that point in the game anyway, but yeah, fun boss. Pretty easy. Killed him.
I like it.
Mm-hmm.
I like it from Mikey. No, it doesn't work.
You like it from Mikey it?
I like it from Mikey it. Mine is pretty nostalgic for me as well.
Mm-hmm.
I played Silent Hill 2 with my brother, and he pretty much played the whole game. And I've talked about that game on the show a little bit before. Terrifying game. There is a boss in this game. He's kind of your main nemesis throughout the whole game, and it's Pyramid Head. And you eventually battle him. I know I've talked about Pyramid Head on the show before, but I can't remember when. But he's one of my most memorable bosses from that period of gaming.
Interesting.
Because he always scared the shit out of my brother and I, and he would pop on screen at the most terrifying moments in the game, and he would always surprise you, and you eventually do actually have to battle him. Silent Hill's a very cool game.
Yeah.
Silent Hill 2 in particular is a very cool, just from an aesthetic standpoint, the design philosophy is really awesome, and there's a lot of nurses with weird gyration movements, and very terrifying. And Pyramid Head's almost like a surgeon. I think he has a surgeon smock on, or an artist smock.
Mm-hmm.
This massive cleaver that he drags behind him, and the sound effects are really cool, and you can hear him walking around. And he's known as Pyramid Head because he has this giant triangle pyramid head thing that's really huge and oversized. So that's my guy.
Interesting.
Bosses. You eventually do battle him. I don't really remember the battle itself. I more just remember him in all of the scenes throughout the game.
Yeah.
That it is climactic when you take him down.
Nice. Now, I think you've brought up this game previously in the Symphony of the Night episode because I believe that we were talking about mannequins, the mannequins that fly at you, and there are similar enemies in Silent Hill. I think also at one point I'd ask you in one of our PYAs what a scarier enemy was than something.
I think that's right. That sounds familiar.
Yeah. I think you brought up Silent Hill and maybe Pyramid Head at that point too.
Well, now I've officially brought him up as a boss.
Well, hell yeah, that's a boss choice.
Thank you,
boss.
Micah. Your validation makes me feel good.
Hell yeah. I've never played that game, but, it's so scary. What I've seen about that game terrifies me. So, I know myself. I'm kind of squeamish.
Me too, dude. I've been talking about Last of Us 2 seemingly forever now because this game is so high anxiety and it's so long. It's too long. For this type of game, it's too long. I'm sorry. People can disagree with me. It's too fucking long. I'm nearing the end. And that game is about as scary as I want games to get. I can barely handle it. And that's part of the reason it's taken me so long. I had like a 2-hour gaming session the other day, and I got to the next part in the game. And I was like, Jesus Christ, I can't do this. I literally was exhausted from playing the game.
When a game emotionally exhausts you.
Yeah,
that's tough.
It's too much, man. It's too much. It's like a 30-hour game of just nonstop anxiety.
I'm looking forward to playing it. I'm looking forward to adding to my anxiety.
It's an amazing game, but it's too much for me. And without even finishing the second game, I have to say the first game is definitely superior.
Heard.
Gameplay-wise, the second one's better, but overall package, first one. We'll do a whole episode on it, though.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yes. Okay, that was Boss Bosses. Now we are going to get into the potatoes and the meats and the meats and the potatoes. Maybe some tubular meats, like a hot dog.
The beef jerky and the French fries of the episode.
Yes, we could have some yams.
I didn't even consider yams as an option, but dude, fuck yeah.
Purple potatoes, the small ones.
The turkey leg and the rosette potatoes of the episode.
Yeah. Okay, let's get into the meat and potatoes. So, I guess for the background, I think I was the one who pushed for this one because I do have a lot of early memories for it.
Yeah, this is one that I've played a little bit over the years, but I think it was always too intimidating for me as a child to get super into.
Yeah, playing through it on this run just shows me how young I was because we were so bad at it.
Honestly, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's so hard. It is a very hard game. But we never got that deep into the game, and having played through this time with an emulator because it'd be impossible, I just would not have been able to get through this game without an emulator. I mean, it's so hard.
If you tried to play this on the NES, we'd probably still be trying to figure out how to beat it.
Yeah, crazy. Even looking up how to beat enemies, which I think we talked about before the show. We both tried not to do that. The later third of the last third, I was looking things up because I was just getting so destroyed and frustrated. Because I would save it before the fight, get my ass kicked, replay it, and be like, all right, I just over and over getting my ass kicked. I'd eventually look things up. So even with looking it up and knowing what to do, it was still incredibly hard.
Indeed.
Yeah.
It was tough. Tough time.
So some of the game facts about this. It was developed by Nintendo R&D 3 and published by Nintendo. I think R&D 3 is one of like the old school, very early on development portions of Nintendo.
Yeah.
It was directed by Genyo Takeda. I don't know if I pronounced that right. It might be Genyo Takeda. He worked at Nintendo for about 49 years, from 72 to 2017. And I have a whole bunch of things in here about him. He didn't really work on a lot of games per se.
Mm-hmm.
He was more working on the company pieces, like the technology and how to innovate the company. Instrumental in Nintendo not focusing on graphic power, right? And having that war with the other consoles, but focusing more on innovative gameplay, ways to make games more fun in unique ways instead of just chasing power.
Yeah. And that's actually what has kept Nintendo relevant all these years. Mm-hmm. It maybe is what made them win the console war in the 90s and is what has made them, essentially they are now the second seat, but you'll have your PlayStation or your Xbox for the good graphics. But if you want good fun gameplay, you have a Switch too.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it really does live alongside one of those consoles nicely. Like, you really don't need a PS4, I guess coming up, PS5, and an Xbox, right? You don't need a PlayStation and an Xbox.
Yeah. One
of them, for the most part, will do, even though they both have some exclusives. But it's better to get one of those and then a Nintendo console.
Yeah, totally. Nintendo's always been the thing that it's not instead of, it's in addition to, because it's a different entity, it's a different style of gameplay. You want different things from Nintendo than you want from the other consoles.
100%. And he was one of the key development voices on the Nintendo Wii, which was obviously a huge game changer for gaming.
Yeah.
Massive success, sold over 100 million consoles, I believe, of the Nintendo Wii. He was a producer on the arcade version of Punch-Out, and he worked on Pilot Wing 64. But from like a producer, director standpoint, he really didn't do that much. He's more been on like the business side and development side, technology side of developing Nintendo as a company instead of developing games.
Yeah.
Yeah. So producer was Minoru Arakawa. Designers were Kazuo Yoniyama and Mayumi Hirota. Programmer was Masato Hatakeyama. Artist was Makoto Wada. Composer, it looks like there's 3 listed here. Yukio Kanioka, Akito Nakatsuka, and Kenji Yamamoto.
Some of the music in this game is really good.
It is some good stuff. I think in our fun facts there's something about music that actually surprised me.
Mm-hmm.
The platform, obviously, arcade in the NES/Famicom, the Japanese version. So there was a gold version that released September 18th, 1987, which we'll talk about in the fun facts. That was actually technically the first like console version of the game.
Ooh, interesting.
The gold version. Mike Tyson's Punch-Out came out on October 18th, 1987, which is my birthday. My legit day of birth. That was in the North American release. So yeah, that day I was taking my first breaths in the real world.
Came out punching.
Yeah, came out freaking punch. That's why I'm so violent. It makes sense now.
It does make sense.
I'm just punching people all the time.
You can't keep Jono out of a fight.
yeah. Everybody knows that. And then the regular Punch-Out, the non-Mike Tyson's version, came out 3 years later, August 2nd, 1990. Same exact game again. It's just a license agreement with Mike Tyson had worn out. And so they had a non-Mike Tyson run version. And it sold more than 2 million copies back in the day, with Virtual Console and other things now. Sold a lot more. I believe this was originally released on arcade, but we are specifically talking about the console version of this game.
The original arcade release was December 1983, which is insane to think about.
That's right. I think we have these in the fun facts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So why don't you just start reading through some of these fun facts, courtesy mostly of Wikipedia.
So director Genyo Takada was interviewed and hired by Gunpei Yokoi, who was famous for his involvement in all things Game Boy, the Game & Watch. Mm-hmm. He's one of the greatest, guys in Nintendo.
Yeah. We actually talked about him a lot on the Super Mario Land episode.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Lovely dude. R.I.P.
Yes, R.I.P.
Originally released as an arcade game in December 1983, as we stated. Whenever Nintendo reached the deal with Mike Tyson, they paid him $50,000 for a 3-year period in which they could use his likeness.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when the contract ran up, they didn't choose to, rework the contract because a lot of things, I think they were just already kind of done with it. It was unrelated, but Mike Tyson was going through some legal trouble at the same time. Mm-hmm. On top of that, too, he was no longer the champion, so...
Yeah, and I think they had already made a lot of money. $50,000 paid out big time for them.
Yeah, it's probably just better for them not to worry about it at that point. Yeah. But still, it's fun to see Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. Yeah,
because, when they signed that deal, Mike Tyson was not yet the champion.
Yeah, that's actually really interesting. I did not know that. I didn't know that this was sort of like them, I think you said here that they had gone to a match and watched him and they were really impressed, and that was sort of like one of the inspirations for Punch-Out. Mm-hmm. But it's cool that he wasn't yet the big champion, and then, they get this game, and then bam, he's a big deal, like a really big deal.
Like he was up and coming, but they called their shot. He's going to be the champion, and it paid off big time. $50,000 to use his name for 3-year period.
Yeah, hell yeah. Super Macho Man was the arcade and original NES Gold version Final Fight.
Yeah, not Mike Tyson or Mr. Dream.
I guess was Mr. Dream only in the versions after Mike Tyson? He wasn't in the version before or any of the arcade stuff.
Right. So Mike Tyson's Punch-Out came first, and then when that agreement to use his likeness wore out, they just changed Mike Tyson to Mr. Dream.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, so that was the first appearance of Mr. Dream. Because at the end of the game, there's the Dream fight, which was added to the NES versions that wasn't in the arcades, and that's the fight with Mike Tyson.
Yeah, that's so interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, this is the thing I think you were referencing earlier. The theme song for Punch-Out is Look Sharp / Be Sharp March, composed by Malone Merrick sometime between 1953 and 1956. The theme was originally used for the radio and TV program Gillette Cavalcade,
yep.
of sports. I honestly I cannot say that word for some dumb reason.
It's a tough word.
Ran 1942 to 1960. This is a program which covered a variety of sports, but over time it sort of began to focus on boxing. So prior to the release of Mike Tyson's Punch-Out in 1987, the song was featured in the 1980s boxing film Raging Bull, which I've never seen before.
I've always wanted to see Raging Bull.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be like one of the great sports movies.
I've heard it's great, and it's been on my list for a hot second. So.
Isn't that a Scorsese film?
I think so.
I think it is.
But I could be wrong. Cool. Anyway, the gold version was actually released to those who took part in the Famicom Golf event on the Famicom Disk System. Apparently only 10,000 copies were made. They were given out sort of like as prizes and as a lottery win. Yeah. So, interesting fact.
My guess is those are worth a lot now.
I would love to see how much those are currently going for on eBay. I'm going to
pull that up right now.
Indeed.
Punch-Out gold version for sale. What is your guess?
$18,000.
Jesus. $18,000.
No,
Mike is not messing around.
There are 10,000 of them. So I would guess upwards of somewhere between $300 to $800.
So I'm seeing one for $356, another one for $390, one for $298.
There's a buy it now for one at $259.88.
Oh wow! So that's interesting.
Yeah, it's I feel like Nintendo did a really good job with their like gold cartridge Zelda releases. Mm-hmm. You still see those on occasion, even if you go to fucking like, flea market sort of situation. Like you'll see them on occasion.
I'll never forgive my friend who borrowed my 2 gold cartridges for the NES for Majora's Mask and Ocarina of Time, and then they magically disappeared.
Dude.
I know. Still butthurt like 20 years later. I think he sold them.
Dude, fuck that kid.
Yep. Fuck that guy.
Do you still know him?
I think we're friends on Facebook.
You should email him right now.
I should. Remember when I lent you those games, my most treasured games, and you sold them? They magically disappeared. That's why sharing is not caring.
I think that if he's to redeem himself as a human being, he owes you 2 gold cartridge Zelda games.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Or he's going to get punched out.
Punch out.
My violence is one of the themes of this episode.
Yes. You're no longer a casual good times guy. You are now angry punch in the face guy.
I'm Poncho.
Poncho. Do you wear a poncho in this scenario? I want to know.
Yes.
Hell yeah. Yes, I want to get you. We got to get you a poncho that just says Poncho.
Yes, Poncho the Poncho, for all the blood spray for my fierce punches.
Hell yeah.
I'm sorry, that was too hardcore.
You need to get more graphic if we're gonna make this podcast a success.
Okay, I'll start practicing my graphic storytelling. So
after the match between you and this guy, in which he'll buy you the gold cartridges. Moving on from that whole entire thing, although I want to see this match go down. And I also want to see this guy goddamn send you your cartridges that you so thoroughly deserve.
I'll keep you in the loop.
Should we go into the plot? Shall we go into the plot?
The plot is pretty, sparse.
Yeah.
You're a little Mac, and you got Doc Lewis, who's your trainer, and it's just your journey to become the best boxer in the world. It's that simple.
The only parts of the plot that really happen are the small snippets of dialogue in between rounds of Doc convincing you to keep going.
Yep.
And sometimes you don't believe in yourself, but Doc does. And there's also scenes of you training. That's pretty much the only plot.
Yeah, and you get little snippets about the other boxers, too, you learn about. Well,
yeah.
Pretty funny.
They are pretty funny, actually. Pretty hilarious.
Yeah, so there's basically 3 divisions. The world champion, or the world circuit, I believe, is the top division. And then after you beat that, that's when you fight the Dream fight, which is against Mike Tyson or Mr. Dream. But yeah, that's the plot.
Indeed.
Yeah.
There she blows.
Tell us about the gameplay a little bit.
So this is a boxing game. The gameplay is pretty simplistic, yet that doesn't mean it's going to be easy. You can only dodge and punch.
Yeah.
And block.
Yes.
You have 3 different punching attacks, sort of a jab, an uppercut, and then you sort of have, I guess, your star move, which is sort of this big charge up
super uppercut. Yeah.
Super upper. Then, you can dodge. I actually figured out right at the end that you can hit the block button twice to dodge, which I didn't know you could do.
You like double tap down?
Yeah, and you can like duck.
I did not know that.
It's slightly quicker than the other dodges if you aren't good at hitting the back button to get yourself back in position. So sometimes in some of the fights I would use that as a default. Some of the later fights. But anyway, dodge, punch, jab, super punch, and block.
Yeah.
That's pretty much all you can do. Now, that being said, that does not mean that it's going to be easy. Your opponent approaches you, and you start fighting, and you have to be able to determine when to block, when to dodge, and when they're open for a punch.
Yeah. And they all have special moves as well, and, certain times where you can hit them. And you get the stars. You mentioned the stars that you use your super uppercut. When you hit certain boxers in certain ways at certain times, a little star will flash above their head, make a little noise, and you can build up 3 of those super punches at a time. Mm-hmm. But every time you get hit, if you have one of those stars, you lose one of them.
You got to be good to be able to use it.
You do. And they're also hard to land sometimes in the later fights because they're so quick, and that takes so long to throw.
Yeah. And it's damn near impossible sometimes not to get a little jab from the enemy here and there. So, yeah, once again, this game, it requires a lot of good timing. It requires knowing how to spot an opening. And yeah, you slowly gain skill and also memorization to be able to defeat the enemies in this game.
Mm-hmm. And so basically, there's 2 ways you can win. You can either knock them down 3 times in a single round for a TKO, or you can hit them in a special way where they get a KO where they are down for 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's basically little health bars at the top for each fighter. Mac has a little heart monitor area where there's a 30. I think you start with 30, and when you throw punches, they go down. And you can basically turn into a lighter shade of color, meaning you're exhausted and then you can't throw any punches.
Yeah. It should be stated, too, that as you're throwing punches, as they land, the meter does not go down.
Correct.
Only if they're blocked. I think if you're hit also, sometimes those meters do go down as well. But it's actually, it changes depending on what match you're in. You don't always start out with the same amount. So there's some that are more difficult because you don't start out with as much.
Yeah.
I think.
In later matches, you really have to manage when you knock people down. Because if somebody's close to getting knocked down and you're near the end of the round, and if you don't either knock them out for 10 seconds or 3 times in a round, after 3 rounds end, you lose.
Yeah.
And say you're fighting a tough opponent, 1 more punch will lay them out, but there's 5 seconds left in the round. You do not want to lay them out. You want to save that knockout for the beginning of the next round because their health will be low. So there's some strategy there too.
I never used that strategy. Probably would have helped me in some of my more difficult fights. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, if you knock them out, you win. It's boxing at its simplest and most difficult.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, anyway.
Most very difficult.
I know, it's way more difficult than real boxing. Dude, so much harder.
Yeah, I would say so. So for characters, Little Mac is your main boxer. The perspective, you're kind of behind him as he's punching up at the bad guys. And then Doc Lewis, we already mentioned, is your trainer.
I think this may have been in the fun facts, and I did not mention this, but Little Mac is significantly smaller than the enemies. And this was actually a design choice because they wanted you to be able to see more of the enemies, so they made Little Mac smaller so that you could have a better field of vision.
Yep. Very true. I don't know if I read that too. I don't know if it was in the fun facts or not, but yes. That's very cool. And then basically, every boxer is pretty unique and has a little personality to them. And so as we go through the actual game, we'll talk about all the different boxers that you're going to fight.
Yeah, totally. Some of them are pretty funny. Some of them are really funny because I actually did some research behind them and it made it more funny.
Oh.
So, but we'll get to that.
Cool. So the graphics are pretty basic, I guess. But I do think there's a lot of fun to the graphics in this game.
Totally. This is a pretty stylized game for the NES. A lot of games relied on a much more simplistic graphics because you had a lot larger of a play area.
Yeah.
And this game, since you're only able to sort of stand in place anyway, I think it gave them more chance to really get crazy with it.
Yeah, and it's really all about the different boxers that you're fighting in terms of style and things like that.
Yeah. One thing I really like too, this wasn't really common in games of that day, but the crowd actually moves. The crowd in the background is actually moving around a little bit. Yeah. It makes the game feel more alive, which I really like.
I completely agree. And we should say Mario is in the game too. He's the referee.
I love it. At first, I was curious to know if that was actually supposed to be Mario, but at one point, one of the fighters actually directly dresses him as like, "Hey, Mario, I like your hair."
Don Flamenco compliments Mario's hair. I'm pretty sure it's Don Flamenco.
You're probably right.
Yeah, it's pretty good. The music is also good. It's great. There's the little montage scenes where Little Mac is running in his pink jumpsuit with the New York City skyline in the background, which we'll talk about. Any comments on the music?
Every character sort of has a little intro theme. It's usually maybe a little bit stereotypical of the cultures they come from.
Classic Nintendo.
But it's pretty funny.
But I mean, they also do it to the Japanese character. So they do it from a loving place. They
do it for everybody. And this is more like, these are characters. They're really played up, Yeah.
And they all have their own individual dance they basically do while they're it's to that music.
Yeah.
Their own music.
I love their little intros. It's great.
Yeah, so I guess we should just get into the actual game. Anything else you want to go over before we talk about the playthrough?
Hell no.
Okay, well then I guess this is a good point to do a little happy hour as well. I know we don't have adult beverages soon. Be patient. We will be drunk on air soon for you, the people.
In the meantime, we will be enjoying our nice seltzer waters.
Oh, yes. So would you, I don't think we have any questions today. Would you like to go first or second on the happy hour?
Yeah, I'll go first. This is pretty standard adult living situation. This is non-gaming related. I've been, once again, working, doing school. Most of my time's been spent doing that. I haven't done a lot of really fun stuff lately, but the other day I went shopping and I bought a spice rack, which I've wanted to install in my kitchen for forever. But the problem is I can't drill into the walls. So I had to figure out a way to install the spice rack without actually drilling into the walls. It's very interesting. I used a combination of hanging it by wire from a pipe that is installed in the wall that's covering up electrical, but it's sturdy.
Is it because this is like a brick wall that you couldn't drill into it?
No, there's just a bunch of like weird electrical work behind it, and also like part of my lease agreement says I can't. Not that it would keep me from doing it if I really wanted to.
I see.
But anyway, I had to jerry rig it. It was really MacGyver setup, but it works very nicely. So pretty proud of my installation capabilities. Now I have a spice rack above my oven. Boring, but yes, that is my thing.
Yeah.
For the week.
Mine's even lamer than yours.
Oh, damn it.
All right.
I thought I could only make you look better.
You failed because I told you before the show mine was kind of lame. But it's kind of hilarious too that I'm even bringing this up. So, in the midst of the pandemic and everything that we've been going through, Popeyes, the fast food chain here, I'm going to be plugging some fast food.
Oh, hell yeah.
The sandwich blew up. The sandwich they call it. And there would be lines around the block to get this sandwich. And I always wanted to try one. And then I was in the park maybe 2 months ago and my friend was eating the sandwich, telling me how good it was.
The sandwich.
Yes, it's just always been something I've wanted to eat. And on one of our recent episodes, might have been the Super Mario Land episode, I mentioned how I picked up a 3DS and then also that Persona 5 art book that I'm super stoked about.
Hell yeah.
And when I was driving out to get those items, I went and got the sandwich. This was last weekend. And it was delicious.
Did it live up to your expectations?
I gotta say it did. I had very low expectations. I was like, how good can this sandwich be? It's a very simple sandwich. It's just a crispy chicken breast with some mayo and pickles, but the pickles are what make it so good.
It is a very simple but very perfect combination of things. Now, I'm going to come forward and say I was a little bit underwhelmed at first. The first time I had it, I've had it a couple times since, and it's been better.
Yeah,
I think the day I just went to whoever was working just didn't give a shit. Which, if you work in fast food, I don't fault you for feeling that way. It's a terrible job. But that being said, or it can be. I think some people enjoy it, but I think it does not pay those people who enjoy it well enough. But anyway, politics aside, I'm going to get into a more political thing. I love Chick-fil-A, but I have not been back to Chick-fil-A because Chick-fil-A is evil now, supposedly. So, and I've been missing some Chick-fil-A sandwiches, so I've been trying to fill that void with Popeyes, but...
Yeah, I've never really been in Chick-fil-A, so, they're like, I'm totally indifferent to them.
Man.
I always thought they were overrated when people always talked about them.
That's fine if you feel that way. But the thing about Chick-fil-A is the subtle, small things that make it so good. The thing about it is Chick-fil-A is about the sauces at the end of the day. It's a clean slate for the delicious sauces. And that's what I want out of Popeyes. If they bring some cool sauces forward, that's all I need.
Right. That's fair.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that was happy hour. I know you guys come for the retro video games, but you stay for the fast food recommendations.
Yeah, hell yeah. Dude, speaking of fast food lately, it's been, if I want to splurge and go and get something really bad for me, it's been Good Times.
Good Times
local
is
fast
good,
food.
though.
Yeah, local good fast food.
Yeah, not everybody who listens to the show, I would say the majority aren't actually living in Denver. So Good Times is a local Denver burger chain. I think we've actually talked about them on the show before.
Is it actually local Denver, though? That's what I want to know.
I'm pretty sure.
For some reason, I thought it was from Texas.
Well, now I feel like an asshole.
No, I mean, you probably are right, but now I got to look it up because I don't know this and I want to know this. Good Times is great. Essentially, it's sort of like if you've ever been to like Checkers.
Yeah,
I think
Rallies.
Rallies was the northern version of Checkers. Same thing. They've got similar fries. It's a similar vibe with their burger selection. High quality food, though. For fast food, it's higher quality.
I'm pretty sure it's Colorado.
It is those wild fries. That's what I love. And the wild fry sauce is what really makes it.
When I drop you back off at home tonight, Mike, because you're having car troubles, I might get myself a late evening Good Times burger. So that I can wake up for work feeling fat and tired. But hey, it's worth it. I'm very hungry right now.
Dude, I'm actually getting fairly hungry. Thinking about Good Times is making me want more Good Times. The reason I was thinking about it, though, is because this morning I woke up a slight bit hungover, and Good Times was my cure. But it's also literally the only thing I've eaten today, so...
That's fair. All right, so that was enough fast food talk. But yeah, send in your questions and manifestos and comments. We'd love to hear from you guys, and we'll get you heard on the show.
Yeah. And just for the record, this is from Lakewood, Colorado, so you are correct. But yeah, manifestos, fast food opinions. Send us a recipe. We'll read your recipe on the air.
Yeah, I won't make it because I don't really cook.
Yeah, I might make it if it sounds cool.
If you make it, I will eat it.
Well, hell yeah. What if it has arsenic in it, though? Do I have to make it then?
Yes.
Damn it. If you want to kill us, send us a deadly recipe. We'll make it, we'll eat it, we'll die.
They're going to send that recipe with their manifesto.
Cool.
Yeah.
Sounds fun.
So Mike Tyson's Punch-Out/Punch-Out. Great game. We're going to go through just all the characters that you fight because this game really is all about the unique encounters you have with the different boxers that get harder and harder and harder throughout the game.
Indeed.
Yes. So, minor circuit. This is where you start. Your first opponent is none other than Glass Joe. Pulled a lot of this information from the interwebs. But he's from Paris, France. He's not the strongest opponent that you will face. He's quite weak, actually.
He's also a little bit of a coward. And it is stated several times, he says during the match, make it quick because I want to retire.
Yeah.
He's ready to go.
And he also says in between rounds, don't hit my jaw.
Yeah, he's
a giveaway.
He is not the most boxer-like boxer. He's your first opponent. He's the pushover.
Mm-hmm.
He's maybe the most famous opponent in this game, too, because he's the intro to the game.
You think he's the most famous one?
I think if you talk about Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, Mike Tyson being the video game might be the most famous aspect of it. But as far as like long-living enemies you face in this game and the games that follow, I think it's Glass Joe.
Well, when we get to the one that's the most memorable for me, I'll bring attention to it. I'll highlight it.
Hell yeah.
So Glass Joe, age 38, 110 pounds. There's really not too much to talk about because he's just so easy.
Yeah, he's a pushover. Skinny as a rail, Glass Joe.
And there are ways. So I didn't look up the easiest ways to beat everybody. I know there are ways that we won't talk about where you can beat people easily, but I mean, we're mostly talking about our experiences. Mm-hmm. Some of the later ones, I will definitely talk about the ways that you can beat them that I did not discover on my own where I looked it up because they're just so hard.
Yeah.
But, like, I'm pretty sure there are some ways where you can knock Glass Joe out within, like, 10 seconds.
Yeah, there's a way to actually get him gone really fast. I watched a couple of playthroughs, and people can beat him super quick.
Yeah. But I don't know how to do it, so.
Me either.
Yeah. All right. Each character we mentioned earlier kind of has a signature move, too. Glass Joe's, he'll kind of back up and, like, shake his fist at you a little bit, and then he'll run forward with an uppercut. Incredibly easy to dodge, though.
Yeah.
And I think that might probably be where you can knock him out. A lot of these characters, when they have that super move where they run at you, if you hit them at the right time, it'll knock them out in one punch.
Yeah. They look tough, but they're leaving themselves wide open.
Very wide. Extra wide.
Extra wide, please.
All right, man. Tell us about Von Kaiser, opponent number 2.
So he is our second opponent. He is from Germany. I think he's listed as being from Berlin. Mm-hmm. Let me see here. Ex-military from West Berlin, West Germany. He is the second opponent in the minor circuit. He looks a lot like my former boss, actually.
Oh.
I had a boss who was this cool-ass dude from Europe who owned the burger place I worked at in Nashville, had a big old mustache. This could be him in a younger day, for sure. Also ex-military.
Von Berger.
Von Berger. But also ex-military, so maybe there's more comparisons than one. But anyway, this guy, not terribly tough, but significantly more tough than Glass Joe.
Yeah. Still pretty easy, though.
Mm-hmm. I think he's sort of like the warm-up for the rest of the game. Mm-hmm. I think after him, it gets significantly harder, but he's pretty funny. He's not too tough. He does this weird, like, head-shaking thing where it goes back and forth, and that's when you know he's about to do one of his mega punches.
Yeah.
You could just lay into body punch during that, and you're good.
Yeah, that's another thing. Most of the boxers, if they're going to do something out of the normal, they have a little tell.
Yeah, it's always different depending on the one. Sometimes they blink a color. Sometimes something on their body blinks a color. Sometimes something on their clothing blinks a color. Mm-hmm. And sometimes they just move weird.
And it gets progressively harder. Like Mike Tyson, I believe, winks when he's going to throw a punch, but it's so quick. It's like impossible. Even if you see it, like your reflexes have to be amazingly quick later in the game to even read those tells and then react to them.
Yeah. I will definitely say by the end of the game, I can only successfully dodge half the time when it came to Mike Tyson. Or Mr. Dream in my case.
It was so hard. All right, so nothing too much to talk about Mr. Von Berger / Von Kaiser. So then we get to the minor circuit champion, Mr. Piston Honda.
So Mr. Piston Honda is from Japan. He is an experienced boxer from Tokyo. He is the champion of the minor circuit. His record, I believe, is 26-1. One loss.
Yeah. 18 KOs, I believe.
He's a big boy. He's a big deal.
Yeah.
But he's actually one of our first people who look like a legitimate boxer.
Yes. He's not a joke.
Yeah. He looks tough. He's a little bit, I would say a bit harder than our previous enemies that we faced.
For sure. He's 28 years old, 174 pounds, and he has by far the hardest special attack that we've run into at this point.
Yeah. He sort of has this like fist barrage of punches, and it got me more than a few times. He was the first character that I faced where I actually had to really take some time and get my skill level there to be able to beat him.
Yeah. You have to, I believe, block, hold down, because he does I think if I'm remembering correctly, does the whirlwind where he'll punch, 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 and kind of in a circle, and you have to raise your gloves every time, and that's the easiest way to get through that.
Yeah. Also on top of that too, his tell is he'll blink his eyes really quick.
Yep.
Which is pretty funny. He also does this weird little bunny hop thing, I think at 1.2 before he launches into the barrage. Mm-hmm. I only saw that once though. But yeah, one of my favorite things about fighting him is when you get one of those surprise uppercuts when he's about to hit you. His surprised face is funny. Some of the characters have great surprised faces whenever they get hit in the face.
Yeah. They really do. The animations of the punched faces are pretty good.
Yeah.
So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, we have a new champion.
And that is Little Mac, or you, however you want to look at it.
Yes. And this is I kind of forgot how much I loved the little interlude in between the circuits. where the pump-up music is playing and Doc's on the bicycle and you're running behind him in the pink jumpsuit.
It's literally 2 frames.
Yes, 2 things over and over. And you have New York City skyline, and there's no doubt that it is the New York City skyline because the Statue of Liberty is in there.
It is there.
Which I find hilarious. Along his bright pink jumpsuit is just so iconic and hilarious at this point, too.
I know. I honestly want to train in a bright pink jumpsuit after watching this, playing this, experiencing this.
I'm going to be Little Mac for Halloween one of these days.
Dude, honestly, as it turns out, people are pretty pro-Jono team because of Little Mac in our draft.
Really?
Yeah. A lot of people that I've talked to are like, Jono's team is better because he is Little Mac.
You know, I honestly have a sidebar here that says Little Mac was the unsung hero of my Nintendo character draft.
It was. You know, maybe I delved too greedily and too deep into the back catalog to grab certain characters. I should have thought about more obvious choices. Not that Mac is obvious.
I think it was very obvious.
He was a good deep dig. I think you knew your audience when you chose that one.
Well, yet he's like the diamond. When you dig him up, everybody's like, "Oh, that was a great pick."
Yeah, truly a great pick.
All right. Anything else to say before we move into the major circuit?
Now let's jump right in.
Let's jump right in with Mr. Don Flamenco himself.
He's probably one of my favorite enemies in this game. He has this little dance he does when he gets on stage, and I think some of his dialogue in the middle of the match is pretty funny.
Yeah, for sure.
At one point, he's says some girl's name. He's like, "I'm doing this for you."
Well, he's from Madrid, Spain. There are romantic people over there.
He's a former bullfighter from Madrid, Spain. He's the first fighter in the major circuit, and he's the first real lover that you meet.
Yes, he's quite the lover.
Mm-hmm.
He also looks like he's 45 years old, but he's apparently only 23 years old.
His face is very long for a 23.
It's very long. He's balding. He just doesn't look like he's 23.
Yeah.
I feel like they kind of applied those numbers at random.
I think so too, actually.
Yeah.
He also has his strategy for fighting involves a lot of taunting.
Yes.
Which makes sense because he's a former bullfighter.
He will not punch you unless you punch him.
And this actually, I wanted to point out, was this made this fight hard because you're having to ration your little hearts, and when you hit and they block, it gets rid of a heart. So the whole entire way that you manage to fight him is, you let him throw the punch that he doesn't respond to the block punch that you just threw, and that's you dodge and you get your good punch in there, and then you can sort of land some extra blows. But if you don't ration properly, you'll get yourself in a situation where all you can do is dodge for a little bit until you recharge.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I did also want to point out that his dancing, the intro, I think you might have already said something on it, but he has a rose in his mouth. It's just really funny.
It is very funny.
It's a really funny opening. So whenever you do knock him down too, and this is something that caught me several times before I realized it, he'll always run in with an uppercut when he gets off the ground during the 10 count.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's tough. He took me a minute to kind of figure out, but once I got him, I got him. You get some good multi-blows in there. I actually watched a playthrough earlier where someone had him down quicker than any other opponent. I think even more so than Glass Joe.
Really?
It was super fast. But it was also, I think, the quick, one of those world record videos.
Yeah. So, Mr. Don Flamenco, if you just keep repeating that, again, there might be a way to get him down faster, but if you just, taunt, hit, repeat, you'll get him down.
Yeah.
And then he, like I mentioned, is the one who refers to Mario's hair.
Yeah.
In the middle of the, in between rounds.
I think he's just trying to sweet talk Mario into letting him get away with some cheap shit.
Definitely.
Hell yeah.
Okay, anything else to say about Don Flamenco?
Nah, man. He was just a good opponent.
Okay, well now we are on to King Hippo, who I will say is the most memorable boxer in the game for me due to my childhood fighting this guy, and he was always so hard.
Yeah.
He's actually quite easy once you figure out what to do, and as an adult man, it was easier to figure it out. But as a kid, we just found him so hard, and we were always happy when we got past him.
I will say I had a hard time. During this stage, it was when I was still not looking things up. Had a really hard time figuring out his whole entire thing. It took me a minute.
Yeah.
But then, you eventually do. You got to get him when his mouth is open. Then he drops his pants, and you got to land some body blows when he can't defend himself. But all that being said, he's from Hippo Island, which I looked up. Are you familiar with Hippo Island at all?
No, I figured it was not a real place.
I think it's literally like a rock that's rising from Antarctica, or like the surrounding area of Antarctica. Like it's in the, it's just a rock.
This is real.
Yeah, but like people don't live there, so it's just kind of funny.
I wonder if the developers were just fascinated by the geology or geography over there or something.
Possibly.
Or they just wanted a hippo-looking character.
I think that's what it is. He looks like a hippo. And Hippo Island is named because it looks like a hippo, too. So it's just a steep, rocky island. It's only like half a mile wide. It rises above the Shackleton Ice Shelf of Antarctica.
Shackleton?
Yeah. The famous explorer.
Yes. So one of my all-time favorite books, easily in my top 5, is called Endurance, and it's about Shackleton and his guys who go down to the Antarctic when they get trapped between two ice floats or floes or whatever you call them, and lived there for 18 months. One of the greatest stories of all time.
Damn.
Look that. Is it by Alfred Lansing? I think the author is Alfred Lansing. I could be wrong on that. But look that book up, Endurance. It's an amazing book. I've given it to so many people. It's like one of my favorite gifts to give.
Interesting. I'm going to have to definitely look that up. There was also, do you ever watch The Mighty Boosh? I think we brought this up several times.
I've never seen it. You've told me about it before.
It's funny. It's weird. I don't know if it holds up, but I used to watch it back in the day, so I love it now. It's quirky, weird. Like there's a lot of like band references from like mid 2000s bands, but also there's an episode where they go to Antarctica, or maybe the Arctic, but they find the lost explorer Biggie Shackleton.
Biggie Shackleton,
who's frozen. It's a reference to
Yeah.
Anyway, a long story short, I just think it's funny that there's a character from Hippo Island, which is just a rock, rising from a frozen sea.
Well, this just made me like King Hippo even more. Somehow we got to talk about one of my favorite books because of King Hippo.
King Hippo, man.
Yes. His age and weight are unknown. So he's a mysterious guy. He's large, though.
He is large. He tries to be in charge.
Yes.
Once you figure out the whole entire thing with his mouth, he's actually really easy. But it took me a while to figure this out. And this is, I think, where the difference between skill and like learning an opponent's, patterns is what this game requires both. Up to this point, it just required skill, I think. Now it requires that you learn how your opponent works. Absolutely.
And this one came back to me because as a kid, we had to learn this, and we always sucked at this game anyway. But it did kind of come back to me going through this playthrough. I was like, oh yeah, his mouth is open. That's when you have to hit him, because I knew you had to make him drop his pants so you could punch him in the little like bandage over his belly button. And I eventually figured it out. And once you figure it out, he is quite easy. And in one knockdown, he is done. He's a 10 count. Knocked out.
Which is pretty fun, because if you were like me and you didn't look it up, I spent like, I think 30 minutes trying to figure out this fight. When I finally did, and I finally figured it out, and it was super quick, it was like a nice reward for time spent.
Absolutely. Well, that's a long time, but I mean, I totally get it. The only reason I knew it was because I thought back to my childhood.
Yeah. I also was playing at like 10 o'clock at night after I'd gotten off work, and I was not in a good mindset to be reasonable or, methodical about anything.
Mm-hmm. So after King Hippo, we go on to the Great Tiger.
Now, Great Tiger was actually one of my favorite fights. He's actually like pretty hard. It took me a little while to kind of figure out how to deal with him. He's an Indian boxer that he can like teleport, and he uses tricks to kind of like get around your defenses,
Mm-hmm.
So, but he's fun. His whole entire thing is, he has these sort of like teleporting moves where it's really hard to kind of figure out how to dodge them. So, also on top of that too, whenever his tell for like when he's about to go for a punch is he's wearing a turban, and there's a little jewel on his turban, and it'll blink before he does something. So, it was kind of interesting because previously I feel like it was easier to watch the whole entire body of the players, but now you have to look to one specific point. To be able to tell what you need to do.
He is definitely a tough fight for sure. Age 29, 132 pounds from Bombay. He was a tough guy.
Yeah. I'll definitely say once you get his style down, though, it becomes a lot easier. You just have to, once again, this is a learning curve. You just have to learn how to deal with him. And once you know what to do, you can make quick work of this guy.
Yeah. I will say, moving on to the next one, the Bald Bull, never made it past this guy ever as a kid. This is as far as we ever got.
I mean, It's tough. His bull charge is pretty much a one-hit kill.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it won't automatically get you down, I don't think, but usually by the time I got to that point, I was already so low in health that it was pretty hard to actually take him out.
And I will say we're about halfway through the fighters at this point. This fight is when I was getting a little frustrated, and I might have looked up some ways to beat people.
No, this is actually the first time I looked up something as well.
Yeah, I wrote, this dude is mega hard. Had to look up how to beat him because he was whooping me real nice.
Yeah. Well, actually, okay, he was difficult. But once I looked at the thing pretty quickly because I could not figure out how to get away from his charge.
Mm-hmm.
And once I knew that trick where you can, there's a time in which to punch him. And actually, if you watch, the way to tell is in the audience, there's a guy with a camera, and you watch for the flash, and that's when you punch.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, when he's charging, if you watch, there's a guy in the bottom right of the crowd. If you watch for his camera flash to go off, and you punch right at that moment, you'll knock him out. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, because, that is how you do it. It is hard to time, though. Even once I figured it out, I didn't know of the camera flash.
Yeah.
Because I didn't read the cheats enough.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, he was tough. He was very tough.
He was tough. I think I found the Great Tiger more difficult. Because I think I actually had written down here that I probably spent 45 minutes in the Great Tiger. Because, once again, I was trying to beat him without looking shit up.
Yeah.
But,
I just remembered, again, the Great Tiger from when I was a kid. I remembered some of those things. Him and King Hippo, we barely ever beat the Great Tiger as a kid, though. That was like we were high-fiving and hugging each other because we had this great moment in time.
Fuck yeah.
Bald Bull, though, he was just a bastard. From Istanbul, Turkey, which is a great place.
Still never been, really want to go.
It's an amazing place. A beautiful, beautiful city. A lot of history. And so when you beat Bald Bull, you are now the champion of the major circuit, and we have another little montage, this time at night. In front of the waterfront of New York.
It's a great chance to see what New York City looks like in all of its 8-bit glory, lit up at night.
And glorious it be.
Mm-hmm. And this time the Statue of Liberty is also lit up, so, nice little touch there.
So then we are on the world circuit, and this is when we see repeat characters for the first time.
I would say that these repeat characters are significantly harder. I feel like maybe they have more health, or I found them to just generally be quicker, more difficult to fight. And Piston Honda didn't give me so much of a run when he was difficult, but this time around he actually was much more difficult.
Oh yeah,
much harder. I just had harder ouch written down for this match.
I was just getting my ass kicked at this point. I'm apparently not very good at this game.
I'm not super
incredibly frustrated. From this point on, I was just reading on how to beat these guys because I was consistently getting worked.
Yeah.
Game gets really hard in the world circuit.
Definitely. Piston Honda was pretty tough. The next guy was one of my favorite characters in this game. Probably a little bit of a not racial stereotype, a xenophobic stereotype,
Yeah.
So he's Soda Popinski. His original name was Vodka Drunkinsky in Japan.
Which is kind of hilarious. It's a burly Russian man who drinks vodka.
Yeah. His little comebacks at you in between the matches are hilarious. He says things like, "I can't drive, so I'm going to walk all over you."
That is pretty good. I didn't actually read that one.
He also says something about getting you punch drunk, which I thought was pretty funny.
He's also extremely large and pink.
Yeah, he's very pink.
Horrifyingly pink.
Like he's never seen a bit of sun in his life. Like in a creepy, weird pink way.
Or maybe that's, he's just drank so much.
I think that's probably what it's supposed to be.
He's rosy from all the alcohol. But
yeah,
he was hard, though. For me, he murdered me so many times.
Yeah, he's a true meanie. I also too, this is the first time that I got the "I can't win, Doc," a little cutscene dialogue.
He's drunk. You can beat him. He never says that.
I think this is one of the ones when I had, being able to rewind really helped me here.
Oh yeah, he's got a fantastic Fu Manchu mustache also.
Yeah.
Crazy laugh. He laughs right before the match starts. Yeah. So apparently, I tried to beat all these guys organically, and then I would get slaughtered over and over, and I would look up how to beat them. So how far did you go without looking things up? Because I feel like you're just better at these games, and you have a better, you have more willpower to get through these games without cheating.
I said it was Bald Bull, but I may have looked up something with the Great Tiger. I don't remember, but it was in that circuit when I started looking things up.
Okay.
And I tried not to, but I would always give guys a shot, and then they would slay me, and then I would look things up.
Yeah, and these like special ways to get stars on guys and to knock guys out get increasingly hard. Like you would never think to do some of these things.
No, seriously. It's not always super obvious. Sometimes looking it up, I don't understand how people would get it without looking it up.
Yeah, like Soda Popinski, when he goes down to uppercut you, what you do is you hold down to block, and that makes him stall for a little bit, and then if you punch him, you get a star. Like, who would ever have thought that?
I wouldn't have. I didn't use that technique and still beat him, but yeah, if you figured that shit out, it's probably because you played it a million times as a kid.
Very crazy.
Before the internet.
So then we have another couple repeat fighters. We have Bald Bull and then Don Flamenco. Mm-hmm. Anything to say about these cool cats who are coming around for round 2?
No, I mean, Bald Bull was pretty much the same. I just had written down here, I really love how he twirls his gloves to like wind up his punches or whatever. It's a nice little touch. And also he makes a hilarious face. I think I said that before, but whenever you punch him in the face, his surprised face is really funny.
Yeah, and then we have Don Flamenco again. This time he will attack without you attacking first. Mm-hmm. He does have a great line in between rounds. He says, "Flamenco strikes back, return of Don." He says that between the first and the second round.
I'll say the fact that you didn't have to go for his taunts this time made it a little bit easier in one way, but he was harder.
Yeah.
Def.
I don't think he was as hard as Soda Popinski, though. Soda Popinski things really got hard with that guy for me.
Dude, but I will say the hardest one in this circuit is the next guy, in my opinion.
I agree.
Yeah, because
it is not Super Macho Man. It is Mr. Sandman.
Mr. Sandman was fucking difficult.
From Philadelphia, triple uppercut move. That's very hard to dodge. Mm-hmm. Yes, very, very hard. Age 31, 284 pounds.
27-2 with 21 KOs.
My God.
Yeah, I honestly, after fighting him, I thought he was going to be like the last guy. I thought he may have been the replacement for fucking Mike Tyson because he was so difficult. I'd never considered that this game would get this hard fighting him.
Yeah, and he's, I don't think anywhere close to as hard as Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson's impossible.
Yeah, as it turns out, the game does get much harder.
Yes.
But that's the thing. This guy literally, your ability to react to his tells, it's such a short window of time, such a short time span that it's so difficult to figure it out.
I was clearly very frustrated at this guy. I wrote, honestly, it was impossible. I don't have patience for these types of games. I will never beat Punch-Out without using Rewind. Never.
I think I might actually, I might try one of these days, but I'm going to have to really spend some time at it. It's a fun enough game where I think it's one of those things I could probably get, a little bit better at, but damn, it's difficult. Yeah. But dude, essentially something I did not know until the very end of my bout with him was the trick is he goes for this uppercut, you dodge, you hit him in the face. You don't go for more face blows. You actually can land more body blows on him if you do that. And so thus you can actually work him down a lot quicker.
Interesting. I don't know if I did that on that
He
guy.
is tough, though, dude. He's so tough. And he's so quick.
Mr. Sandman, extremely hard. Mm-hmm. Harder than the next guy who is the World Circuit Champion, Super Macho Man, in my opinion. And it sounds like your opinion.
Yeah, I actually didn't have to look up anything about Super Macho Man. I think I looked up a little bit about Mr. Sandman to kind of tell his... what would the best reaction would be. But, that was mostly just a case of me pausing, saving, reloading my save state every single chance every time something went wrong, and just stacking the deck in my favor with every punch I landed. Just got super cheap with the save states. But, dude, for Super Macho Man, pretty tough, but not by any means as tough as Mr. Sandman.
I completely agree. He also has a fantastic pectoral bounce at the start of the match.
Yeah, he does. I didn't read his facts about him.
He is 35-0 with 29 KOs.
Yes.
He's age 27, but he has gray hair and looks super old.
Yeah.
242 pounds.
He also he says that he thinks it's going to be harder for him to tan than to defeat you. I think is something he says in the match too. He has some weird stuff. I think he's also from California, if I remember correctly.
I don't have that written down, but I know he does say in between rounds, I don't smoke, but tonight I'm going to smoke you.
Hell yeah.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, I have on here, pretty hard fight. but easier than Sandman.
Yeah. Also, I think it literally, like, my time fighting him, like, the actual time of the match was longer. I think once I figured out Mr. Sandman, obviously I was cheating with the save states and shit like that. So the match was shorter, I think, overall than my match with Super Macho Man. But with Macho Man, you just, you take your time with it, and you can really just get in there good. Now, he does have this sort of, like, triple uppercut thing he does, but you can learn it, and it's pretty easy to dodge.
Yeah. It's not as hard to dodge as Mr. Sandman's, like, triple uppercut thing he has, or whatever that move was. I kind of forget, but so hard.
Yeah.
And so you beat Super Macho Man, who I believe was the original boss, the original final boss in the arcade, in the original arcade release. Mm-hmm. So this would normally end the game where you're the champ. There's a newspaper headline that says you're like the champ and your picture's on it. Now, did you read any of the other things on the newspaper?
I think I saw something else, but what else did it say?
There were some random things that weren't that weird, but there's one line that's, because there's only like 4 headlines on the whole thing. Yeah. And one of them is, "Daddy, come back home." And I was like, why is that on there?
Dude, that's weird. Didn't I have something about Mario on there too? I can't remember.
I can't remember. I was just so taken aback by the "Daddy, come back home."
Yeah.
It's like there's a boxing game. That's scary. It's very unsettling.
Damn.
Why'd this dad leave? Now I want to know the backstory.
Yeah, maybe it's one of the boxers. Maybe it's supposed to be Little Mac. But also, yeah, it's sad.
You ready to talk about the dream fight?
Yes. Holy shit. Yes. But I'm not happy about it.
I didn't beat it. Even with all the knowledge, cheating, rewinding, I tried for a long time. And I kept running out of time. Mm-hmm. It kept happening. I kept running out of time over and over. And I had saved, this is one of my faults, I had saved like in the middle of the second round or something, and then I couldn't go back, and so I was like, I had the third round to beat him basically, and I could not do it.
I'll say this. Due to methodical saving, every single time I landed a punch, I did beat him.
Every single time. Hey, I like it.
Literally, I was just unapologetically cheating hardcore to get through this match. I would literally perfectly dodge, perfectly block, perfectly get a punch in there and get a couple of body blows in. I would figure out exactly how many I could do before he would immediately react. I would save it right there. Mm-hmm. And literally, as I would reload the save states, I would literally be having to press a button as the screen was coming in to be able to keep going.
Yeah, because he's relentless.
Yeah, he is relentless. He's so quick. You don't have that much time to be able to judge what he's doing. I got a little bit better at like doing it like organically, but most of the time it was like 50-50 if I was going to be able to dodge and properly attack him. So
extremely hard.
Yeah.
And like most of his punches will, if they don't lay you out, there'll one other punch will. You know what I mean?
Yeah. At the beginning, literally he will one punch KO you.
Every single one.
Yeah, and later on in the match, it won't automatically KO you, but it'll get you really low. You really can't afford to get hit basically at all during this match.
Yeah, it's incredibly hard.
Yeah.
So that is Mr. Dream / Mike Tyson. Same character, same moveset. One just looks like Mike Tyson and one does not.
Yeah.
It's so hard. I don't even know what else to say. I couldn't believe that I had all the knowledge possible to beat them with rewind, with saves, and I couldn't beat him.
It's damn near impossible.
Now, I could have, if I kept going, I was just very frustrated, and I stopped.
I think it at least took me 45 minutes to get this fight down.
I probably tried him for 45 minutes, and then I rage quit.
Dude, I was seriously so cheap and methodical about my save states. That's the only way. I don't understand, but I appreciate people who could beat it back in the day. I just don't have that reaction time.
No.
I wish it did.
It's possible.
It is possible.
When I sat down to play Punch-Out, I started out as casual good time guy. I was having a good time. Great game.
By the end of it, you were a Punch-Out.
Well, yeah, halfway through the game, I was just regular Jono. Mike Tyson turned me into Punch-Out.
Forever altered your state of being.
I'm back to regular. I'm feeling pretty casual good time guy right now.
Hell yeah.
Good time guy.
Good time guy-y.
Yeah, the 3 states of Jono.
Yeah, dude, when I finally beat him, it was a dream come true, pun intended. And I was happy to be done with it. I fought Mr. Dream from Dreamland. Is that Kirby's Dreamland? I wonder.
To make a boss that hard, another fucking impossible boss was Kirby's Adventure.
Dreamland just breeds horrible beings.
Yes, apparently. My God. So yeah, if you do win against Mr. Dream or Mike Tyson, it says, "Great fighting. You were tough. Mac, I've never seen such finger speed before." That's what Mr. Dream or Mike Tyson will say to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's for you, the player. Your finger speed was great.
Mm-hmm.
Good job.
Yes.
At the end of it...
That's what your mom told me, too. I'm sorry.
Oh. No, it should be...
We can edit that out, Micah.
No, we're going to leave that in. It should be worth mentioning, too, that Mr. Dream / Mike Tyson has a 99-0 with 99 KOs. And that's tough.
That's pretty hardcore.
I don't know if they put Mike Tyson's actual rating in there, but Mr. Dream was listed as 99-0.
I don't have his record listed. I just have that he's age 21 and 220 pounds, which is probably just like his real life age and weight at the time.
Yeah. But, dude, yeah, at the very end, it showed Little Mac's stats, which, after significant cheating, I had 14-0 with 13 KOs.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, and I felt good about it.
Yep. What's the one that's not the 14th KO?
I think it was Don Flamenco. I think I just beat him without knocking him out fully.
Huh. So
first time.
You can get to the end of the 3 rounds and win?
Yes, but I'm not entirely sure what the thing is, because there'd be multiple matches that'll get to the end, but I thought I knocked them down more times. I thought I had more points than them, but I didn't.
Yeah, because I got to the end of the round with Mike Tyson several times.
Mm-hmm.
Never let me beat him. So I just assumed you couldn't win that way. Interesting.
Yeah, you can, but I don't really know how that works.
All right.
Poisonally.
Okay, Micah. Final thoughts before we get into a little action.
This game is really hard. I think this is also one of the, this probably lends itself to, this is probably the starting point of a lot of boss battles that came in games after this point, too. I think the whole entire, methodical learning of, different, tells on a boss, how they're going to move around, and knowing how to react to them, rather than it just being you could just sort of go through it and figure it out. I think that gameplay mechanic of learning and skill, both being required to beat bosses, was popular in the 90s, early 90s in particular. Kind of glad it went out by the wayside,
Mm-hmm.
But that being said, Punch-Out, more fun than I was expecting. I was kind of expecting to get really bored for a couple hours.
Really?
Yeah, I was kind of glad to actually play it.
No, I think it's a pretty timeless game, and compared to a lot of games on the NES, I think it's a pretty unique game. Really do. So I really enjoyed it. I think it holds up pretty well. It's still fun until you get to the more frustrating later guys, which those just, getting frustrated while playing games like this is just not what I find fun anymore. When I was a kid, I loved doing that because you had a lot of time and you wanted just to keep learning and replaying things over and over. And yeah, we've talked about it a lot on the show before with timing and how you want to spend your gaming time. And it's just not how I want to spend the precious time I have to game anymore.
Being able to complete these retro video games is more important to me now than having the purest experience.
Yeah. Now, Steve Wiebe, I bet that guy could beat this game.
Yes. I bet you he has it all mapped out already.
Oh, yeah. Because Donkey Kong is also incredibly hard.
Donkey Kong is significantly harder than pretty much every other video game at the time, because it is, in some cases, impossible.
Yeah. One of these days, I'm going to reach out to Steve Wiebe. Once we have a little bit more of a following, I'm gonna get that guy on the podcast.
I'd love it. I think I look up to that guy. I'd like to talk to him in real life.
I would like to talk to him too. That would be awesome.
Hell yeah.
Okay, man, you ready?
Yes.
Prepared?
Yes, all prepared.
I'm gonna go first.
You do it.
I'm gonna go first because I think you went first last time.
I went first the last 17 times.
Okay, then I'm gonna go first.
Hell yeah.
You seem prepared.
I am.
Is Mr. Dream / Mike Tyson the hardest boss you have ever played in a video game?
Yes. I can say that with no second thought. Yes.
I will also say yes. I was shocked. I had never played him before this playthrough. I'd never gotten this far. I'd never had an emulator. The only times I'd ever played this game beforehand was live action, certain amount of lives. It is the hardest boss I've ever played.
It was the most unforgiving boss. I think, in all honesty, I'm surprised that people have ever been able to beat this game.
You have to be perfect.
Cheating.
You literally have to be perfect. One-hit knockouts. I mean...
But the amounts of, this slight amount of reaction time you have to and that determines the whole entire fight. One punch, you're out, you're down, then you're just fucked for the rest of the game.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't get it. It was so fucking hard.
So very hard.
Mm-hmm.
All right, your question, sir.
Have you ever boxed in real life?
Yeah. I've never had like a real match, but in college, they had classes at Ohio State that were fitness classes. You got a credit for them, like 1 credit.
Yeah.
And I took 2 boxing classes, and then for, I don't know, half a year or so, like 6 months, I was part of Ohio State Boxing Club, just for fun. I was never very good, though. Even as Puncho, I was never very good.
Interesting.
How about you?
I've done just a little bit. In college, got good and drunk with a couple of my friends. One of them, my friend Jose, he was taking boxing classes at this point, and he had 2 pairs of gloves. And so everyone was like, oh, let's go box. And so everyone drunkenly boxed in the driveway. Most people were pretty good. I sucked. I fought an opponent who was significantly shorter than me, so I was like, oh, I got the reach. This is going to be fun. I've never done this before. The guy got in within where I couldn't get him anymore. He got inside of my reach, and just probably like 6 face blows later, I was just like, dude, you win. I give up. Fuck. That hurt.
I would, I don't like the idea of boxing that much, but it was a really fun workout. It was really hard. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know. It'd be fun to get back.
I don't know if I'd want to like hardcore box, but I'd like to be able to. You know what I mean? I think it's a fun skill to have.
Yeah. Cool. Now this one kind of falls in line with my last question. Is this one of the hardest just overall games made, do you think?
Well, I mean, the first half of this game, probably no. But I think the ending, this final boss being the most difficult boss, has made this probably one of the more difficult games, maybe the most difficult game I've ever played.
Yeah.
I know there are more difficult games out there. Probably objectively speaking, I've played them. Like I said, like 14 times already, like I don't know how people beat this game.
I really don't either.
Yeah.
I mean, front to back, I would say no, it's not the hardest game made because the first half is totally doable. And there's games like Donkey Kong, we were just saying. Donkey Kong's so hard to even get through the first screen.
Yeah.
But because the second half of this game is so damn hard, I'm going to say yes. I think it's up there as one of the hardest games.
Yeah.
At least that I've ever played.
I'm sure, objectively speaking, it's got to be high up in the list. So, okay. My question for you. Did this make you want to rewatch Rocky?
I honestly don't think I thought about Rocky one single time.
Thought about it the whole entire time I played this game.
It's a great movie.
Yeah. It made me want to watch it for sure. And also, generally speaking, we should do a Medium Retro special episode on Rocky.
Yeah, I'm in, dude. I've actually only seen the first one. And I've seen clips of some of the other ones, but I've only actually watched the first one through.
I've watched bits of the second one, bits of the third one, but I've never actually sat down and watched until the more like the modern Rocky movies, the ones that are Rocky. I forget what they're actually called.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
What are they called?
God damn it.
Because there's Michael Jordan is the Rocky trains him, I think. Apparently that movie's supposed to be really good.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it. Okay. You ready for my next question?
Yes, but I want to tell you what this movie is first.
Sure.
I looked up Rocky modern movie, and it was like Rocco's Modern Life.
Ooh.
Rocky.
I guess, that makes sense.
Movie.
Michael B. Jordan.
It's Creed.
Creed.
Yes.
Because it's Creed was his enemy, his opponent, and I think Michael B. Jordan's Creed's kid that Rocky trains.
Yeah. But it's actually a really good movie. Both movies are actually great. I saw the second one in theaters. Definitely
I haven't seen either of them.
Definitely worth a watch, for sure. Okay. Both of them are great movies.
All right.
Cool.
I'm going to check that out.
Next question for you, sir.
So it's a two-parter. What's your favorite boxer in the game, and what's your favorite real-life boxer?
I don't know if I have a favorite real-life boxer because I don't really watch boxing. I'll watch it on occasion when it's on. And it really tickled me to read the name The Korean Zombie the other day.
Yeah, he's a UFC fighter, though.
Yeah, he's not a boxer. But I don't know. I honestly wouldn't even begin to be able to tell you because I don't really keep up with boxing.
That's fair.
So sad to disappoint you there. But I think in this game, it's Mr. Hippo and Dom Flamenco are probably tied in my minds. Although I really did like the Bull. I really did like Soda Popinski.
Vodka Drunkinsky.
Yeah. Vodka Drunkenski.
That is funny. That that was his name in the arcade, which is hilarious that it was actually out there in the wild.
Maybe I'll have to go with. I'll just have to go with Hippo.
That's fair.
Yeah.
King Hippo's mine too. I mean, he was so memorable as a kid. Getting to him and then beating him was always amazing.
He also just kind of looks like a chicken nugget.
He does. He does look like a chicken nugget. My favorite real life boxer. I'm not huge into boxing either, but I do enjoy boxing. And right now is pretty exciting times with the heavyweight division. I'm going to do a total cop-out answer though and say Mike Tyson because he has his demons, right? He has his rough past, but he had like a Broadway one-man show that I think got pretty good reviews and it was like a big hit.
Wow.
He's just a very interesting person. And whether people like the Joe Rogan podcast or not, he has some pretty interesting interviews and he had one with Mike Tyson. And Mike Tyson talked about how he was just like an angry person at life. He was just an angry person. And he got into psychedelics and, more experimental treatments with drugs, more like natural drugs. And he licked a toad. Have you ever heard of this toad that you can lick? And he's like, it changed his whole life.
Damn.
I don't know. If you listen to interviews, even when he was pre-toad, he's a very insightful person, but he has his demons. He's an interesting character.
Yeah. Interesting. I mean, I've not really ever delved too much into Mike Tyson. I just know there's a fuck ton of controversy surrounding him. So,
there is. I mean, he's done some bad things. I mean, he really has. But he also had a very, very hard upbringing that most people probably can't relate to.
Yeah.
But he's almost like philosophical in some of his interviews, even back in the 80s and the 90s. There's this one where he's talking about how he'll talk to any person. He'll talk to the meanest dude in the world, someone who can beat up anybody in the world, and he'll talk to the weakest, smallest guy the same way. It doesn't matter because we're all people. Like he talks like this. He's an interesting guy, but then he's done some bad things. So I don't know.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, shit, man. I think you've already answered my next question. Would you be interested in trying to play this without cheating? And I think you said hell no already.
It's strong no.
I think I gotta say no now, but with some training, yes. But I had to be trained.
See, when I was younger, I would have been, I would have taken pride in the fact that I could do it. Now, if I did it, I would have to spend 10 hours probably at least training for this shit. Yeah. So much time. And I feel like when I would beat it, I'd be like, well, why did I do that?
Yeah. I mean, there's probably better ways to spend the time training at this game. Unless someone wants to pay you to do that. And then in which case it would be worth it.
Yeah. Listen, if we get a following and people are like, we want to Twitch fund you learning this, yeah, I'll do it.
I would rather people Twitch fund us to have a boxing match, me versus you. We train for that.
You're a much larger man than me.
I know it's not fair. But, I have less skill. I've never taken a boxing class.
I took a boxing class 12 years ago. I haven't put on a boxing glove in 12 years, Micah.
Yeah, it would be me and you versus two similarly shaped and sized opponents.
Well, if I am going to box you, I'm going to play Punch Out so it turns me into Punch-O so that I'm ready to go.
Hell yeah.
Okay. Hell yeah. Do you regret not choosing Little Mac during the Nintendo Draft episode 22?
Only because everyone loves your team because of it. But,
Who is everyone? Your siblings?
No, I mean, my roommate said that your team wins because of Little Mac. Some guy online said your team won because of Little Mac. Yeah, ouch.
Little Mac.
I know, as it turns out. But, I think overall he does not have a place on my team. He's a great person to choose. Should have chosen him. You did a good job choosing him, but I probably wouldn't have chosen him, even if I could go back and change things.
Well, I said you should.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
My question for you, do you think this game would have been more fun if there was like a casual mode, an easy mode for you to play through?
Honestly, no. I think what they should have done is just make those guys a little less hard. They're too hard. They're insanely hard.
It's just like a steep curve. Easiest to hardest. It's just like insane how much harder they get.
Yeah, because I mean, at the time, casual modes are a lot more prominent now in gaming.
Mm-hmm.
Back then they weren't. And so I just think they should have made them a little bit more attainable. Keep them that hard in the arcade if you want to eat people's quarters.
Yeah.
But I mean, Jesus Christ, like, how many people actually beat this game?
I don't know if I know anybody who did without cheating.
Like back in the day, like with no cheating, how many people actually beat it? It has to be such a small number compared to how many people had and played the game.
If that was an Xbox Live achievement, it would be a super rare one.
Yes. 2 million copies were sold back in the day.
So some people definitely beat it, but how many?
Like 1,000 out of 2 million? You know what I mean?
I want to know.
I want to know too.
I want to know.
We'll sadly never have that info.
Yeah. I said it probably would be more fun with the casual mode, but, who's to say?
Yeah.
Close. Your question,
My
sir.
last question. If you were going to be a character, one of the boxers in the game, what would your special move be?
Probably, I don't know, a bear hug. An undodgeable bear hug.
The bear hug.
Yeah. Just crush you.
That's the Zangief.
The Zangief?
Yeah. You know Zangief from Street Fighter?
Oh, yeah, that's what he does.
The big Russian guy with like the heart-shaped hair on his chest.
Classic.
Yeah.
I guess he does that. Yeah, that'd probably be it.
But then he pile drives you.
Oh, I just hug you to death.
Have you seen the movie Orgasmo?
No. That
It
sounds
was
great,
made
though.
by Trey Parker and Matt Stone of South Park fame. It's like their first ever movie before South Park, I believe.
Damn.
And it's about a Mormon who goes to Hollywood. He gets sucked into the porn industry, and his name is Orgasmo in these films.
That's absurd.
I don't remember if it was him or his sidekick Choder Boy, or if it was another character who had a move where they would cup their hand and fart in it and then throw it. So I said that would be my special move.
Nice.
It was a long-winded way to tell you about my special move.
I would probably, in all honesty, I think my special move would probably just be me just getting out of the ring and leaving, Just quitting.
Quitting.
Yeah, because I don't fight. Pacifist.
I don't really fight either. Puncho's all made up.
Yeah, I've always wanted to be somebody who could fight. I've just never been tested, I don't want to be tested. I would prefer never to actually fight. But there is part of a person that you always wonder how you do in a real fight,
Yeah, because, it could be life or death, and you want to think that you'll handle it well.
In the case of it being life and death, I would like to assume that I'd be able to pull it together. But who's to say?
Yes.
For sure.
All right, your last question.
Now that you've beat it, do you think this game overall lives up to the hype?
Well, technically I didn't beat it.
Well, now that you've almost beaten it.
I got too frustrated. But yes, I do. Like I said, they should have turned down the impossible meter a lot, I think, actually. But yeah, I do think it lives up to the hype. I think it's just a special, unique game, especially given when it was made.
No, my original answer was no. But I think so. I think, honestly, you have to give it to the fact that this is an iconic boss battle, never-ending boss battle. It's hard as hell. Sometimes it's so hard it's not fun. But there are other times when you really do enjoy playing this game, particularly boss battles like the Bull or King Hippo. Those are actually pretty fun, and I actually had a really good time playing through this. So I was gonna say no, but I gotta say yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I mean, I have to say yes because of the nostalgia too. It's hard to detach yourself from that, and
yeah, and you really do
so much.
You really do have to put this game into perspective on when it came out, what was around, being released around that same time. So
yeah. Okay. I think that's everything, sir.
That is.
This was a hell of a day of fun times and good things and stuffs and punchos.
Good times and punchos.
Good times. Also the burger joint that I might be eating in a little bit.
Damn. Hell yeah. Fast food. Love it.
All right. Farewell, everyone.
Y'all have an excellent day. Hey, cool people. We just wanted to say a quick thank you for listening. If you like what we're doing with this podcast, spread the word.
And if you'd like to support future episodes, we've launched a Patreon. Head over to mediumretro.com or search for us on patreon.com to become a fan of our show. Your support is much appreciated.
Also, follow us on Twitter and Twitch at Medium Retro and at Instagram at Medium Retro Podcast. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.